meeting you a few short hours ago. I've already had numerous people remove me on Instagram and tell me they can no longer be my friends because I'm here at a free event learning both sides of the spectrum. Anyway, and I also forgot to tell you my pronouns. I identify as non-binary. Joe Biden. Live and let live. Everybody can live however they want. They can do whatever they want. And my question for you is, do you have any hate? And is Turning Point USA against the LGBT community? Because I'm being told that by coming here and listening to you speak that I'm either a racist or a fascist or against the LGBT. And isn't fascism when someone doesn't agree with your beliefs and your views and they want it either your way or the highway?
Yeah, the people that defriended you on Instagram, they're the fascists. So I do not have hate for a group. I do not have hate for a people. I have hate
just
for
so I can get it on my camera. So Instagram,
don't worry, we
hi.
got plenty of cameras, but yeah.
But yes, so you do not hate the LGBT community,
Well, no,
and Turning Point is not against LGBT.
No, how could I hate that which I have a heart for?
Thank you.
And I might not agree at that for some of the lifestyle choices that some people make, but of course not. And if someone said, Charlie, what's your view on marriage? I say, I believe marriage is between one man and one woman. But if you ask me, what do I have hate in my heart for somebody that doesn't choose the lifestyle that I believe that God laid out in the scriptures? Of course not.
Yes, I was told that Turning Point USA is against LGBTQ.
Well, you could be told a lot of different things.
I know, it's all both.
Gina Carano, Roseanne Barr, Kevin Sorbo, Shane Gillis, Chris Harrison, James Woods, Isaiah Washington, John Gibson, Vanko Gordon, Jeremy Sylvester, Mike Flynn Jr., Scott Cawthorn, President Donald Trump, and Charlie Kirk. What do all of these prominent conservative voices have in common? Well, they've all been deplatformed or censored by social media or media in general. Now, it's not just these prominent voices. It's also voices like yours and mine. How would they do that? For years, many corporations would block or debank individuals for donations, private transactions, and they would do so based on comments that you would make on a social media platform. Is that fair? Is it fair to you? Is it fair to me? Are these accusations true? In many cases, companies like Bank of America, JP Morgan Chase, Wells Fargo, PayPal, and Amazon would use their combined powers to censor people like you and I, or debank folks like you and I, stating that comments we make on a platform are hate speech or fascist, or just for the simple fact that the candidate that we are choosing to donate to, they don't like. Did this actually happen to us that are on the right? In many cases, yes. But it's not just conservatives. There are many Democrats out there that were deplatformed also for their political views. And so what we're going to do today is we're actually going to go do that. We are going to pull up a list of Democrats that were deplatformed based on their political views. Now we're going to go over here to X and use the Grok AI. And it's a very simple question. Provide a list of prominent Democrats deplatformed for their political views. I already ran the simulation. I cannot alter this. This is the result that this question brought up. You can also do the same thing yourself. Go to X or go to any of the AI, and it might give you a similar result. But these are the names that we got that were on the left that were deplatformed for their political views. Let's begin. John DeBerry, Tennessee State Representative, Democrat, 15 plus years. His political views: pro-life views and support school of choice. Deplatformed. Is it because he is pro-life? Pro-school of choice? Whose policies does that sound like? I can think of one person. Next, we have Vernon Jones, Georgia State Representative, Democrat. endorsing Trump and criticizing Democratic leadership. Is that justifiable just for endorsing a candidate that is not of your party? A reason to deplatform them, to censor them? You know, this last week we've been hearing this big argument about the First Amendment and freedom of speech, saying that, you know, all these Democrats recently, because of their posts about Charlie Kirk, about his assassination, the tasteless and disparaging things they're saying about him and his wife, and just even the threats that they're making towards conservatives, and getting into trouble with it with their employers. You know, there's that saying that you can't yell fire in a crowded theater. Well, that, my friends, I'm sorry, but that is wrong. You can. But the only issue is there are repercussions to when you yell fire in a crowded theater. And right now, the left is experiencing that. They have been yelling fire in a crowded theater for 10 plus years. We're not finished yet. Let's continue our list. Karen Whitesett, Michigan State Representative, praising Trump for his COVID-19 efforts. Another Democrat censored or silenced or fired for their speech, for their political view. Tulsi Gabbard, former U.S. Representative, Democrat, Hawaii, 2013-21 through 21. Anti-interventionist foreign policy critiques of warmongers in the party. Right there is a classical liberal point of view, a classical liberal policy, a stance, her beliefs. But yet, those views do not fall in line with today's Democratic Party. So what happens? She left the party. And just a little while ago, she just gave a speech at Charlie Kirk's memorial. Apparently, she is too far to the right now because of views like this. And she was censored. Next, we have Robert F. Kennedy Jr., independent Democratic presidential candidate, environmental lawyer. Vaccine skepticism and anti-corporate critiques. Anti-corporate critiques? Wait a minute, that's classical liberal itself as well. Critiquing the machine. But yet today, that is so far right that he is considered a whack job, an extremist. And just looking at this right now, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Tulsi Gabbard, both silenced for their political views. Where do you see them today as part of the Trump administration cabinet? Silenced for their political views. Marianne Williamson, 2024 Democratic presidential candidate and author. Critiques of big pharma and corporate influence. Again, another classical liberal position. Yet she is silenced, deplatformed because of having classical liberal views. And today, those are even too far right for the Democratic Party. That's embarrassing. I'm going to butcher this name. Dennis Kucinich, former U.S. Representative, Democrat, Ohio, 1997-2013, presidential candidate. Anti-war stance and civil liberties advocacy. Again, classical liberal position. Yet again, this is too far right for the Democratic Party today. Classical liberal. It's a shame. Graham Elwood, progressive comedian, podcaster, former Democrat supporter. Anti-war, anti-corporate commentary. Again, classical liberal position. So apparently, his comedic delivery is hate speech. Because he's anti-war, anti-corporation, anti-machine. But yet deplatformed for his political views. The Progressive Soapbox. Progressive YouTube channel, left-leaning commentary. Critiques of the Democratic establishment. Again, anti-establishment. Maybe they went too far left. Maybe they went so far left they were preaching communism. But if that was the case, they would not have been deplatformed, because when you look at today's Democratic Party, all I see are communists. Ford Fisher, freelance journalist, news to share, covers left-wing protests, natural reporting on political demonstrations. What, because maybe he was reporting the facts on a demonstration, reporting facts on a topic, but yet his freedom of speech as a journalist was censored and taken away because his political ideas are too extreme. That is today's Democratic Party. If you're not left enough, you're not far left enough, then you're far right, regardless of ideology. You can agree with them on 90% of their policies, but if you're not 100% in line, you're far right, get out. Now, what's this have to do with anything today? Well, what this is about our freedom of speech. And it's not just my freedom of speech, it's yours. And everyone needing to understand the repercussions of the things that we say. Yes, words can have consequence. Things that I say can get me fired from my employer. And that is why when we're trying to, like when one side is trying to honor somebody, to say things out of distaste, wishing harm upon, the victim's wife, their family, their supporters, it's disgusting. Charlie Kirk went to, I guess you would say, he went into the lion's den every week, going from campus to campus to campus, trying to hold conversations with everyday people, everyday students, challenging them. And that's the point of college, to challenge your mind, to, learn how to think, not what to think. But someone decided that they couldn't win an argument with their facts, and they had to take his life. For what? Because of the words he said. It's a shame. At the very beginning of this, segment, I started off with a Charlie Kirk clip. And, for the last week or so, all I've been hearing about how much of a homophobe he is, a racist, a Nazi, all of these things. And I'm thinking to myself, the content that I've taken in by Charlie Kirk, and I'm like, I don't understand where they are coming from. What are they seeing? He's not these things. So, of course, when you want to point fingers and you want to start going back and forth at each other and keep dividing, everyone's going to come up with their nice little clips. They're going to leave out context. They're going to leave out key details just to get their confirmation bias. And we shouldn't be doing that. None of us should. It's about the truth. The truth regardless of what it is. If it's going to, debunk our narrative, then so be it. Debunk our narrative. And it's going to suck. That just means you move on to the next topic. Now, the result of this, okay, you have, both sides today yelling and hollering, talking about Charlie Kirk's killer, saying that he's far right. He wasn't far right enough. He's a Marxist. He's a communist. He's Antifa. Who is he? What is he? Well, it's interesting that there really is no manifesto. There really is just a series of texts back and forth between him and his boyfriend, girlfriend, however you want to, look at the relationship. But it's simple. Regardless of party affiliation, what the kid did is sick. Anybody who does something like that to either side, there is something wrong with them. They allowed themselves to get caught up in either some sort of social media group or a, indoctrination into some sort of a lifestyle or a group. And they allow their confirmation bias to brainwash him. The kid got to the point where he just thought everything that Charlie Kirk did was evil. It didn't matter what it was. But you could clearly see at the very beginning of this segment, Charlie Kirk was a very honest and caring and open guy. And, pointing fingers, it has to stop. Because the wedge is just going to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And pretty soon you're not going to be able to bridge that gap. And when that happens, it's over. And the way things are going today, we're almost there. There's almost no turning back from this. And it's another thing that's sad. We have both sides pointing at each other, not just with Charlie Kirk, but with like the whole Jimmy Kimmel thing. Everyone's talking about the only reason Jimmy Kimmel got fired is because Donald Trump called his buddy at the FCC and had him fired. And of course, those that are on the rights are like, no, that's not true. It's like saying Roseanne Barr said Barack Obama had her, kicked off X. But yet, does Roseanne Barr have any credible evidence to prove that she was kicked off of X because of Barack Obama? Not at all. She said something that went against community guidelines. She was banned from X. Now, what did Jimmy Kimmel do? What did he do? What did Jimmy Kimmel do to get himself fired from The Late Show? We all seen the quotes about Charlie Kirk and President Trump. But yet, he has freedom of speech. He can say those things. And that's his choice. And like every other choice, like me sitting here today, it's a choice to say this, but if there are repercussions, I have to accept them because I am saying my opinion. Now, what's interesting about that is the left is blaming the right, and the right is just seeing the disparaging things that Kimmel said about Charlie Kirk and the president. So why was he fired? The real reason. Let's see. The real reason he was fired. It's simple. Jimmy Kimmel's contract was going to be up next May. And right now, ABC is in the process of being enveloped into a large corporate merger with Disney. And the outcry for what Kimmel had said was enough. And when you have a multi-billion-dollar merger going on between media companies like Disney and what is this company called? Nexstar. All right. In that bundle of mergers, there are ESPN. ESPN is also acquiring the NFL Network. And people don't realize the NFL is king. And that's really what drove this. It's this merger. It has nothing to do with Donald Trump saying that these things need to be reviewed or what Jimmy Kimmel needs to be reviewed. This is about money. It was about money. They're looking at it as Kimmel. It's in the middle. We just started the football season for this year. We're talking billions of dollars guaranteed profit every single year. When you have a personality making such comments, there are repercussions. And to this corporation in the middle of this merger, those repercussions are like 3/4 of their audience. These are NFL fans. They lose their NFL people. They lose money. And that's the last thing this merger needs. Because football is king. Jimmy Kimmel was expendable. The NFL is not. You're a corporation and you have that choice. Jimmy Kimmel or the NFL? Who are you keeping? Pretty obvious. The NFL. That's why Jimmy Kimmel was let go. And that you can say all you want. It's freedom of speech, freedom of speech, freedom of speech. Well, yeah. He still said what he was going to say. But unfortunately, because of this merger, it could interfere. It could be looked down upon. The point of view, the ideals of this personality could ruin this media deal. So a corporation has a choice. Entity or personality. The entity is bigger than the personality in this case. So Kimmel was not fired because of Donald Trump. Kimmel was let go because it was repercussions of the things he said, and it could interfere with this huge media merger. So the biggest thing now is what happens next. Does everyone just keep pointing fingers? Does the truth even matter? Or is it about really just proving your side right and their side wrong? You know, I understand that, you know, these are comedians. They're going to say things. They're going to say things that make people uncomfortable. You look at the last 10 years when you have comics going from city to city trying to put on shows, but being canceled because they're making jokes about a marginalized group or someone else, white people. But yet they're getting canceled. They can't perform at these venues because of their what? Point of view? Because their jokes, their freedom of speech. We have a decision to make. Right now, we are in a very bad spot. When the right says something, we exercise our freedom of speech. The left calls it hate speech. The left exercises their freedom of speech. It's fascist, or we're fascists for trying to silence them, for saying things that aren't appropriate. It's the same argument on both sides of the damn aisle. So we're either going to have free speech or we don't have it. And once we don't have it, we'll never get it back. Me personally, I can't stand a lot of the things that are said on either side. You know, when I listened to Kimmel's remarks, you know, on the show, I was like, yeah, I know it's meant in satire, but the way it's implied, it's wrong because it's depicting Charlie as someone he's not. And in the matter that he was assassinated it's not funny. It'd be like someone that, you know, the day after John F. Kennedy was assassinated, going in there and making Kennedy jokes or MLK jokes. It's tasteless. It's tasteless and it's disrespectful to his family. Make fun of Trump all you want, but you don't bring the dead into it, especially when it's that soon. You don't do it. It's a courtesy. But on that, I think we'll stop it there. And tell me your thoughts about it. Put them down below, and be sure to like, share, sub, and just do what you want to do. I'll be here again. I'm sure I'll be back next week with something else. And thanks for guys for hanging out and listening. Good night.